Hello Stud-Scribers, Red Suit Studs here. Today we're going to be taking a look back at one of my favorite sets from years ago, Anakin and Sebulba's Podracers. They're all built and ready to go, so let's get into the review. So unfortunately I never saved the box for this set, but luckily we still have the instruction manual to take a look at. So here we can see on the top right we have our Captain Rex logo, which is kind of the theme that was on all the instruction booklets for that year. I believe it was 2013 this set came out. And of course, since it's an older set, there's no QR code instructions or anything. It's purely physical, old school Lego. But luckily, even though it's an older set, we still get a parts list in the back here, since instruction booklets didn't always have that. But by 2013 they were all standard in there. And then of course we get some of the features shown off in the set along with the minifigures, some of the other sets that came out that year, and then a little advertisement for the LEGO Star Wars game that came out around that time. And I remember playing that game just so much and 100%ing it, did everything in that game. And then of course we get this kid's face on the back. This kid's face is burnt into my memory due to how many instruction booklets from those days that I had. So I always remember what these looked like very well. So without further ado, let's check out the minifigures in this set. One more thing before I continue with the video. I know you all know what this is. I've hidden a LEGO Minikit somewhere in the background of this video. Let me know in the comments where you were able to find it. So starting off with our minifigure selection here, we have Anakin Skywalker as a little boy, and I believe this minifigure is still exclusive to this set only. They've had a couple redesigns, I think in 2015, 2019. They've had a couple different versions since then, but this specific version is still only exclusive to this set here. You can kind of see on his helmet here, there's a lot of different printing going on, which is really nice to add on there, since I think some of the older versions didn't really have any printing, and they had kind of the goggles on the helmet, but this time it's printed on the face there. And speaking of the face, if you spin it around here, you can see it has a double-sided face, one with the goggles and one without. I like to have the goggles on when I have it displayed. I like that face print a lot. So yep, there is our Anakin Skywalker for this set. Next up we have our other Podracer pilot, Sebulba, and this minifigure is a redesign from the older version in 1999. It came in one other set, one of the Star Wars Buildable Galaxy sets, but this is the only big ship set that it came with, and you can see he kind of has two arm pieces there that clip into this one big mold of a body there. So since this minifigure was in that Buildable Galaxy set, it's not as rare as some people may think it is, just because it's that new mold and it hasn't been in a set since 2013. But since it was in that smaller set, it's not very rare, but it's a pretty unique mold, definitely by today's standards, since we haven't had really the means for a Sebulba minifigure anytime since, but still a cool minifigure nonetheless, especially with the way they have the movable arms there, so you can still kind of move the whole body. The older minifigure was not like that. It was just kind of one big hunk of plastic, so I like this version a lot. Next up we have our Watto minifigure, and this is actually the first appearance of Watto in I think about 10 years since the previous set that he was in, and that was a completely different mold as well. So this is a redesign here. And there was another redesign in 2015 I believe, but it was using kind of the same mold, and I think they only really changed some coloring on the vest and his stomach, or maybe some of the blue in the base of the body. But this is like a big improvement past the previous version, I believe. There's a lot more detail on the torso and the face and everything on there, and the wings are a little bendy back here, so it's kind of the same material that you'd find on Kit Fisto's head or the Gungan's ears. But yeah, this is a nice figure here for this set, since it's so redesigned. It's a huge improvement past the last one. Then we have one of Anakin's little friends on Tatooine, Wald. He isn't too unique of a figure here. He is technically exclusive to this set. He's never been in any other set. But I think it's just the typical mold that you get for the Rodian head. Nothing too fancy there. There's some torso printing, but overall this isn't any kind of minifigure to write home about, but a nice inclusion nonetheless. And finally we have our Obi-Wan Kenobi minifigure, which is actually kind of a plot hole here. He's actually not even in this sequence in the movie. He's actually back on the ship with Queen Amidala at this point in the movie, so I'm not sure why they chose to include him in this set. I feel like Qui-Gon would have been more appropriate. But we have a nice lightsaber hilt here with the chrome. I think they started kind of using that chrome hilt around this era of LEGO Star Wars, around 2011, 2008, 9, 10. It's kind of in that area that we're still using today, these chrome hilts. So he has a nice hood, and on the back here we have another face here, kind of an angry look. So similar to Anakin, it has a double face print. And he just has a simple cape and his Jedi robes, so nothing too crazy here. But yeah, kind of weird that they chose to include Obi-Wan instead of Qui-Gon, but a nice figure nonetheless. So I'll go over each pod racer separately here, and we'll start with Sebulba's. This is my personal favorite out of the two. I just really love the design of this, and a lot of that has to do in part with the original designers for the movie that created this pod racer, so hats off to them. I love the design on these pod racers, especially this one. So I'll put Sebulba here where he belongs in his pod racer. He just kind of clips in with this bar here. You can kind of move the legs to fit him in there. And then you can see here how he has this little seat like cushion for his head there, which kind of is clipped on in the back there, which is really nice. And you can notice here there's all these invisible Technic pieces that keep the actual like cockpit of the pod racer together along with like the engines here. And this is a big difference from the older set in 1999 because they just had a big tan brick or a collection of big tan bricks that just kind of connected the seat with the engines, and it just looked really ugly. And obviously it was right when LEGO Star Wars was starting out, so no fault to them. But now that we have these pieces, it's really nice to use these kind of invisible clear pieces. That way it looks less distracting with the big tan bricks in the middle there. However, one detriment to the clear pieces, I feel like these tan pins here in the middle and the black and tan ones over here, it's kind of distracting to have those in the middle of the clear piece because then it kind of defeats the purpose of the clear Technic pieces. So I feel like I've never seen them make clear Technic pins, but I feel like if they were able to, that would have been a nice feature to have. That way the pins would not distract from the actual clear beam, Technic beam itself, and they'd blend in a little bit better. Moving in a little bit closer here, you can see this nice pink or purple kind of beam that goes between the two engines here that kind of connects them like it does in the movies, and it's kind of to show like the electricity kind of coupling it together. And the rest of the details within the engines here is just really nice. There's all this tubing and piping and all these little barrels and the stickers here on the side too. There's just so much detail packed into this small space here on both of the engines. And you can see on the front here kind of these vents that kind of show off where like the exhaust would be coming out of the engines, I guess. But it's a real nice touch of detail here to show off on the front, along with a little bit more piping on the sides here as well. I also really like the big orange pieces here that are kind of connected to this big gray dish in the middle here to kind of give like the turbines on the engine here that they spin as well here. And then you can kind of see the back where the back of the engine is with like some lightsaber bars and kind of a pin in there to kind of give the illusion of like some dampeners on the vent to kind of speed up or slow down as well. And then you can also see on the side of one of the engines here, this little buzzsaw here. It's on both sides. It's on the other one over here too. And it kind of references that part in the movie where Sebulba kind of sabotages the other pods with little tricks that he has up his sleeve. So that's a nice little touch there for some added detail. And you'll see this feature on the other pod as well. But you can see here how there's kind of this tan stand where the actual Technic beam can kind of slide into place there. So then you can kind of hold on to it and swoosh it around. So it has some nice playability for younger Star Wars fans as well. But it's also nice to have it kind of docked in there like that for display because it's pretty stable. It's a little wobbly if you tip on the back, but going forward it doesn't really do much. So it's a nice little base to have to keep kind of the Technic beam of the whole ship in place there. So now that we've gotten a good look at Sebulba's pod, let's take a look at Anakin's. So here we have Anakin's pod, and this one at first glance you can see it kind of has less pieces going on, but that's also due to the nature of just his pod racer being a little bit smaller than Sebulba's, but still a lot of detail packed in here. There's a lot of stickers on this one. You can see here on the sides and on kind of the vents here. But then there's some back here as well and kind of on all around the cab of the actual pod racer. So there's more stickers than on Sebulba's, which usually stickers are a LEGO builder's worst nightmare, but these ones aren't too bad because they're not too big and they stay on pretty well in the spots that they are. They don't get ripped off too easily either. So let's take a closer look at the engine here. You can kind of see where the turbines kind of are in the back here with this cone piece, and then kind of these barrel pieces for the engine. And then of course we have that blue sticker there to show some vents, and then we kind of have these big fans here that actually move, so you can actually speed up or slow down the pod racer here by opening them up like you do in the movie. So that you can kind of see the difference between the two. And it can open a little bit more as well, but that's about how big I'll open it there for you. And then you can also see that pink beam, similar to on Sebulba's pod racer, kind of signifying that electricity coupling the two together. And then kind of my same complaint with Sebulba's, there's just those pesky tan pins in the clear Technic beam, which otherwise would be perfect and a great way to kind of couple the cab with the turbines here, but it's just a little distracting having those tan pieces there, especially since it's the same color as the tan base, which we also have in this pod racer here, just like Sebulba's, so it's just a little distracting. But otherwise, I like this build a lot too. I just prefer Sebulba's just because of the pure design of it, which is no fault to this set. Just a cooler design, I think. So like I said earlier in the video, this is one of my favorite LEGO Star Wars sets, especially from the year of 2011. This is definitely my favorite set from that year as well. I just love all the color that's in this set, and just the building techniques they use to make these engines here connect to the actual cab. And the minifigure selection is really good too. I like the Sebulba and the Anakin. And we even get an exclusive one in Wald, and the mold on Watto is really good as well. So all great minifigures as well. And like I said, my only negative is really these tan pins here that kind of distract from the clearness of the Technic beams. But I think otherwise they created a great strategy here to display the sets with kind of like a sand-colored base with the invisible beams to kind of make the ship float a little bit. But overall, just a great way to display it. And if I had to describe this set in just one phrase, I think Anakin's friend described it best.
This is so wizard, Annie.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to Stud-Scribe and stay tuned for next time, where I'm going to be unboxing some of the new LEGO Super Mario Series 5 character packs. Thanks for watching.